Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen, Mr. Daud?
Not yet.
You can still see it.
No. Okay, it's
What about
coming
now?
up. It's coming up, but not yet. Okay.
You can still see it.
We can see now.
Let me close some. I have a lot of them open. Okay. Which one are you seeing? The portal? Mr. Daud, are you seeing the portal screen?
Yes. We are able to see it. Maybe you just have to put it in
Okay.
slideshow now.
In it?
Slideshow. But I think it's visible.
It's visible.
Yes.
You can increase also the font size. We can see some of us.
Okay. Please also put it in slideshow and then just put the font as well. Yes.
Where do I increase
The font.
the font?
All right.
It's partly too right. Font size. How is it now?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
How is the size now?
Much better. Put it maybe, yes, much better.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So I have a tip in. I'll log in as a taxpayer. Okay. I'm going to log in as a taxpayer. We have this tipping. Put the password. And we need to capture this. Oh, something wrong there. Okay, so once you log in as a taxpayer, you'll be able to see the menu here on your profile. You are able to do registration in cases where you want to make an amendment on your account. You can add other tax types. You can also view your account statements. You can initiate a refund, objection, compliance. You can initiate an assessment, make payments, and even request for audit. So for this session, we need to demonstrate submission for income tax return. So when you log in as a taxpayer, you go to returns. So under returns, you are going to see where it says file return here. So you have to click on file return. Then you have this page that opens where you are able to select the tax type that you want to select the tax type that you want to submit the return on. So first we go to tax type. For this tipping, the only tax type that are registered for is income tax and pay as well. So we are going to go to income tax, and then you select account name. You can see the name of the taxpayer, income tax, and then here we have liability type. Under liability type, you are able to select whether you want to submit for a provisional return or income tax annual, which is the return that we are going to submit now. So you, after selecting the liability type, you need to select the charge year that you want to submit. When you click in this box, the number of years will populate. So in this case, we'll select 2020, and the return is being submitted late. It was supposed to be submitted on the 21st of June, 2021. So the system is alerting us to say this return is late. So you click OK, and then the period will populate here, accounting period to populate from 1st January 2020 to 31st December 2020. So we go next. So when we come to next here, we need to respond to these questions here. So the type of the form, the return that will be displayed for you to input the figures will depend on the way you respond to the questions that are displayed here. So the first one is it will say, is this declaration for rental income only? If it's only rentals, you select yes. So if in the form that will come, it will be a small return just for rental income. So the next one is this declaration for income other than rental income? When you say yes, the form will remove the portion for the section for rental income. So when you say, is this declaration for both rental and the other income? When you say yes, the full return will come for income tax, which will include the other sources as well as the rental income. So for now, we are going to select this one so that we have an experience of rental income as well as other income. So these other questions also are very important. If you don't, they are populated as yes. So if you don't select no, you'll be required to fill in all this information. Like here, this is for a partnership. If you say you are a partnership, the system will give you a return for partnership. If you select, if you have any other employment, the system will give you other sources so to populate. So we can say no to this. Then we select the rental and the other income. So when you select, you respond to one of these questions. You go to next. When you click next, the form will open. So this is the income tax return. So you can see that we have section A, which is the balance sheet. Then we have section B, which is for profit and loss. Then we have section C. This is for tax computation. We go to part 1. Part 1 will show you capital allowances, but we can't proceed until we fill in the details. Or you delete. So we go to, you see that when you go to section B, this thing is disturbing me. When you go to section B, the system will populate with the zeros here. The system will populate with the zeros under section B. Even under section A for balance sheet, it populates with the zeros to allow taxpayers to proceed to section B. Now, under section C, it doesn't populate with any figures. There are no figures here. There are no zeros here. So if you don't put zeros or figures, you will not go to part 1. It will give you this error. Not until you put zeros in all the fields, that's when you can proceed to part 1. You can put all zeros here. Let me show you. Before we start putting in figures, just want to demonstrate this part. To put in zeros, it's a compressed return. We put in zeros. All fields should be populated. This mandatory. I'll leave with this withholding to still allow us to. Okay. I've put in all the fields are populated with zeros. So when you say next, there will be this one. We haven't selected the source code. So we need to select the source code from here, where it says income source code. We can assume this tipping is in air transport. So we select air transport, and then there should be another field where we haven't put a 0. Let me just show here. Okay. So once you populate the zeros, you say next. You see, the system has allowed us to go to part 1, which is for capital allowances. Part 2 is also for capital allowances. Part 3 is also for capital allowances. Part 4 is also for capital allowances. Then you go to the next schedule 1. This is a summary for capital allowances. We didn't select any capital allowances, so it's showing 0, 0. So when you go to schedule 3, is for the losses. Schedule 4 is for losses. Then you go to this part is for rental income. You remember we selected both rental and the other income. So where you select only other income, this schedule does not come. And then when you select rental income only, these schedules will not appear. It only shows a schedule for rental and the and the summary. So when we go next, we have the summary for the tax payable. Since we haven't put in any figures, it will still show us 00. Then we go to the return. Here you need to attach the form, the declaration form, ITO 56, A and B. Then from there you need to submit. So we can go back and try to put in some figures so that we see how income tax is populated. So we can go back to section A. Section A is for the balance sheet. It's for the balance sheet. So we need to put in some figures. We can agree. So let me just put in some figures so that we balance this part and then proceed to section B. I have some figures with me just to demonstrate how this schedule is completed. So we can say land and building. I have some figures. Then we have, you've seen, it has even given us rate, meaning our balance sheet hasn't balanced, so we can't submit. Not until it is balanced. When it is balanced, this red will turn to green. So I'll put in some figures, say motor vehicles, and put in 454, 45, 429, 150. Then we have the total there, which is one motor vehicles,
so that it's not just the front office giving information to taxpayers, but almost every other is tax covers product and also advise taxpayers to the so I do notice that you said that we should have engagement alternatives.
see what we're going to put there.
Can these engagements be in the same form?
61, 67.
Constant reminders on the features of the application. What do you think would be the best?
And we have
Internal staff also
maybe other assets.
knowledge about this product.
24, 8, 2, 3, 7.
We have a project what would be the best one for us?
Station. Would say other investments. Investments.
The new one, I just wanted to add that I've noticed that I agree with what Ms. Mega. We have tried, we have done mainly, we have done physical sessions with staff, but these have been predominantly.
We are getting some feedback. I think that should be in Mr. Mwanza's office. It should be one of the taxpayers.
Yes, there are a lot of people.
Yeah.
For such meetings, because we want them to equip with them out. So it's almost complete. I just noted that also like for the DEMIR, design and monitoring direct taxes, we have what we have like weekly, bi-weekly meeting where we do.
So what we are
knowledge
trying to
sharing.
do now is to balance.
I don't know if this is something which is common.
Balance.
Yeah, we are trying to do it,
in other.
Yeah, by now you would have, we usually encourage our taxpayers to get, to download the income tax return, because the manual return, because and then fill in the information accordingly. It helps you because it is just a duplication of what you are seeing on the system. So if you have already filled it in, you just have to type in the numbers and you are good to go. So just be patient enough. We will have this and then we'll proceed.
So maybe it's an alternative, or an addition to Oliver's suggestion that we can also explore using monthly meetings or knowledge sharing meetings where we can present our topic.
I want to see why it's not balancing. Just a moment. Going to get this.
Yes, Mr. Mwanza.
Just a moment. Okay. So you've seen what has happened. Eh? Once the balance sheet has balanced, it changes the color from green, from red to green. So now we can go to section B. We can go to section B for profit and loss. So here we can put in the figures. We can say our sales were 200 million. Then we go to cost of sales. Cost of sales, we had the 75 million. So you can say other income. We can say rent, 400,000, or even 4 million, it's fine. Then you go to operating expenses. We can say 500, 5 million. We can put 2 million. We can put 6 million there. So we have our total operating expense, which is 6.2 million. Administrative, we can have our wages in 2 million. And we have our pension contribution, 5 million. Then you have other employment costs, say 5 million or 500,000. Then we go to we have our total administrative expense, which is 2.5 million. Then you go to financing expenses. You have your interest, 2 million or 200,000. You have bank charges, 2,000. Then you have your insurance, 1 million. Then you go to, you have your financing, total financing expenses in tune of 1.2 million. So you have your totals there. So it will show you the profit here that you have made. And then you have also your profit, because we haven't done the tax computation here. So here it says profit after tax, but our tax here under section C, we haven't yet done our tax computation here. So it will indicate 0 there. So we are done with the section B. So you go to section C. And when you come to section C, let me put this. When you come to section C, you go to gross receipts. These are your sales. So if you put, remember under section B, our sales are 200 million. So here, if you put, say, 190 million, 190 million, you've seen this error that is coming here. It's telling you that the total sales in section B, section C, do not equal sales in section B. So you have to make sure that the sales that you have put here, the figure to put under section B should be the same under section C. You won't submit this return if the sales are different. So you have to put 200 million here. When you come to cost of sales, the same will happen. If your cost of sales here is different from what you had put in section B, the error notice will come here. It will tell that the cost of sales that you put under C do not equal section B part 2E. So you have to go to section B part 2E for cost of sales. Our cost of sales is 75 million here. So you get this cost of sales should be the same here. You need to put 75 million there as the cost of sales. When you come to other income, what we have here is the rental income as the other income, 4 million. So you come to allowable, non-allowable expenses. Let's see if there's any non-allowable expenses. Okay, we can put our any other figure there. We can say provisions or any other figure. We can say 2 million. This is an add back. Then you have the total add backs here. So allowable expenses. So what you do here, you have your allowable expenses. It even says less allowable deductions. So you have your profits, profit on disposal of assets, you have your capital allowances, you have your mining expenditures. So you can put, you can say we put an amount of say 5 million here for disability, or 50,000 for disability. You will notice that under section C, we have this part here for any other expenses that the return that ZRA gives you did not provide for other expenses that the company has encountered. So you can write here, say free text, you can write whatever expenses that are not included on the return. Say housing, for example, you can put that amount there. So this part is for taxpayers to include the expenses that are not properly narrated. So you go to your totals. So you see that we have our adjusted profit 126. Then we have we don't have the tax computed because we have not selected the source code here. We need to select the source code. So once we select the source code, we said air transport. Then you refresh your system a bit. You go back. You will notice that the tax has been computed here, 47 million kwacha. That is your tax payable to ZRA. Then let's move forward. You've seen here where it says less withholding tax for this source. This one, if you don't have any withholding certificates, you should put 0 here. Because if you don't put 0, you have challenges when it comes to submitting this return, because all the fields should be populated. Most especially section B and C, all the fields should be populated. So you just put 0 here. Don't forget to put a 0 here. Then you should have any withholding certificates. Say you have put your property on rent, then tenants are withholding 10% if in cases of income tax, in cases of rental income. So you will receive, as a landlord, you receive your certificates and the tenant will submit to ZRA that deduction. So say you have your certificates at the end of the year, totaling to say 200,000. So this is where you put withholding tax withheld from source. Don't put, some taxpayers tend to put provisional payments here. This is for withholding tax, not provisional payments. So we assume that we are withholding tax of 200,000, so we put a 200,000 there, which will reduce our tax payable. So we go next. Part one is for capital allowances. So you're going to put your, this is capital allowances on implements, plant and machinery. So you're going to put the name of the machinery that you have. In this case, I would just name it machinery A, then you have machinery P there. Then you need to select the type of allowance. So there's a drop down here. When you click in the box here, you have this drop down where you can pick the type of allowance. So in this case, I can say implements, machinery, or plant. When you select the allowance type, you need to put the cost of that machinery. Say the cost for this machinery was 2 million kwacha. So you put your 2 million there. You can put 200 because of our profit. You put your 200 there. Then you need to put the year of purchase. When was this machinery bought? Say you bought it in 2018. You put 2018. Then you need to put the first year it was brought into use. You can see that when you put all these figures, nothing populates here because the capital allowance is based on the first year of use. So if you bought this machinery in 2018 and you brought it into use in 2018, this is 20, yeah, it's not configured. Capital allowance cannot be admitted in this period. So 2020, I don't know why we have issues there. You brought it into use in 2020. So once you put the year of use, first use, the system will populate the allowance rate and it will give you the charge year allowance of 200,000 because looking at the allowance type, it's given 100% from the first year of use. And then you have no brought forward, carried forward figures here for this asset. So when you go to the other asset, the one we have named the asset B, this one, you select a different allowance type. Or you can select the same. It's okay because the assets are different. So in this case, you want to select the second one, which is tear and wear on the cost. So you have the total cost, you can say 200,000. Then you have year of purchase, 2020. It was brought into use 2020. Then the allowance rate is 100% given the first year of use. There's no carried forward balances. So should you have, the system gives you 2 rows for you to fill in. Should you have more than 2 rows, you come to add rows here. You can add rows that you want. If you have 10 assets, you can add, you just type 10 here, then you say add. Then the system will add the rows, will populate here. So the number of rows, you are not limited to 2 only. You can add as many as you want. So in this case, this is just for demonstration purposes. You can as well delete them. You can as well delete them. You can see I'm deleting the rows that I added. We don't need them, but we can say, okay, we remain with these 2. So our capital allowance is 400,000. So you go next. Part 2 is also for capital allowances. This is capital allowances in industrial building and commercial building. You can say, we can name it asset C. These are buildings and also D there. So we can select wear and tear on industrial building. We can also select wear and tear on commercial buildings. So you put the cost of this building, putting the cost for the building, then you select year of purchase. Year of purchase, you can say 2015, you can say 2019, but the issue is on the first year it was brought into use. You can say 2020, you can say 2020, and then you see that the allowance rates will populate here. For industrial building is 5%, and for the commercial building is 2%. So this is our charge year allowance. For the first one, 10,000. The second one is 4,000. So we have carry forward balances here, written down values. 190,000 and 196,000. These figures will populate in the 2021 return. So even here you can add the rows if you have a lot of buildings, but for the sake of this demonstration, we just submit for 2 buildings. So you go next. This is also part 3 of capital allowances. These are capital allowances on mining deductions, farm implements, development, farm works, and the farm dwellings. So let's say we add the 2 more rows. We add 2 more rows. Oh, it's not adding. Oh, it's not adding. No, it's not adding. I think needs to move out. We have your asset E, we have asset D, we have rent allowance. You can select the mining expenditure. And the total cost could have been 2 million. Total cost could have been 2 million there. In first year of the year of purchase 2018, year of purchase 2018, then the year of first use 2020, you have your 2020 there. Then you have your allowance rates here, 10%, 25%. You have charge allowances, then you have the balances there. Then you say next. Part 4 is also for capital allowances on the motor vehicles. So you can name your cars there. These are your asset names. Then you need to select wear and tear. That's a allowance type. And you put the cost of motor vehicle, Then you have your first year, a year of purchase. Then you have your year of purchase. Then you have the year it was brought into use, 2020. Then you have your rates populated there, and the allowances for 2020, current charge year. Then you have your written down balances there. So we are done with the capital allowance schedules. So we go to the schedule 1, which is the summary for capital allowances. So you've seen we have populated these figures. So now in section C, we need to input the total figure for capital allowances. So I'll copy this figure. You go to section C, under allowable deductions, there is this line for capital allowances. If you don't match these two, you will be unable to submit. The system will say the capital allowance summary does not match section C. So since we know the figure for capital allowances, we paste it here. This will have an effect on total tax payable. Remember, our tax payable was 47. Now it has reduced to 46 because of the capital allowances. So you go back to schedule 2. Schedule 2 is for details of current year losses, if any. In this chart year 2020, we haven't made any losses. If we had made any loss, the loss was going to populate here. As for the current year, I can give an example here. Say, let's increase, we'll delete this just for demonstration. I'll put say 100, so that we make a loss.
So I don't know whether is there a budget line which says project here? Because if there's a budget line which says project, we'll just have to put it there because there's no.
Yeah, we've still made a profit.
There's no budget line really for change management.
Just a minute.
Yeah, they haven't. Because for us,
Let me put another figure. Want to make a loss?
Address. So those things really come under. Yes, but they don't. Yeah, tax services, but they don't normally include us. Like if we have conferences, meetings, when we need to travel, those what are the trips, what are the engagements, what we need to be to go to a hall, meeting with stakeholders.
So we have this loss here. So when you go to schedule, to this schedule.
Yeah, that's what. Yes. Yes, that's the thing.
Mr. Manza, can we advise the lady in the background to just maybe reduce her voice a bit?
She's also in a meeting. She's in a meeting.
Oh, she's also conducting another meeting.
Yeah, she's also in a meeting.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
So you've seen, right? We've made the loss in this current year, so it will auto-populate here. It will populate here. So let's remove our figure there. What we want is to see how a payment return is submitted. I'm going to remove this figure I put here, so that we go back to our status.
Let me just read this one.
Okay, so we assume there's no loss this year. So we go next. This part is for losses from past periods. If you had losses in 2019, the system would have populated here. But there are no losses. We go next. Then we have rental income here. Remember, we had the 4 million rental income. So we're going to put our 4 million here. So this is the 10% applicable on the rental income. So for rental income, you don't bring it under section C because it's a different source of income. So if you have more than one source of income, say you also have management fees, you can add a source of another source here. You don't mix the sources under section C. But under section B, this is just income, profit and loss. You can indicate a lot of them. But under section C, you have to break them. Each source should have its own schedule. So should you have, say, a source in, say, management fees, you need to add it separately. You don't add it to section, to the first source code. So let's go back to our schedule 4. Oh, we were at rental income. So this is what happens. You have your rental income there. Because remember, before we submitted this return, we responded to a question which says our submissions for both rental income and the other source. But when it comes to tax computation, you need to split, you don't add. So you come to next. This is our summary. So our summary will show the tax payable from the main source, which is 46 million. Then you have rental income, 400,000 from the 4 million. So under here, you also have a portion for tax credits. This is where you put your tax credits. Then the other one is for advanced income tax charge. It says this money is paid to customs. On this part, some taxpayers tend to put provisional payments. Say if a taxpayer had made during those 4 quarters where we pay our provisional payments, say you are paying 10 million each quarter. So by the end of the day, you would have paid the 40 million kwacha. So that 40 million kwacha, you do not put it here. This 40 million kwacha, you don't put it here because it will reduce your tax payable. So when you submit a return, the liability for this return will be 7 million kwacha. This portion is for advanced income tax that you had paid at importation. If you had issues with the customs would have told you to pay advanced income tax. We assume that you are at the Chirundu border. You are told to pay advanced income tax, that is in the last period 2020 of 5 million kwacha. That is the amount to put here, 5 million kwacha. You don't put provisional payments. This figure in future, the system will be validating. For you to get your 5 million kwacha, you should make good of your account with customs. Whatever issues you had with customs should have been cleared for it to be available. If, say, with customs, your AIT advanced income tax was 5 million, you can't put 6 million here. You can only put 5 million and below, 5 million to 0. You cannot put 6 million. The system will do some validations. Currently, validation is not happening, but it will soon be happening. Should you put an amount that does not exist with customs, the system will validate and it will throw it out. So we assume that your AIT was 5 million kwacha. You put your 5 million kwacha here. The 40 million that you are paying quarterly will sit on account. When you submit this return liability, it will find your payments seated on your ledger. So it will reconcile. We should not put advance payments under AIT or under withholding certificates. So we can go to next. This is the last schedule where you
Mr.
attach
Before
your.
we proceed, Mr. Mwanza, Ted
Okay.
is asking that where do we
Okay.
put the provisional tax? Maybe he didn't get the explanation. Maybe you might just go
Okay.
through it.
The provision in this is return. There's no provision for you to import provisional payments. Like I earlier said, the provisional payments will sit on account statement. Will sit on the account statement. The quotas that you are paying, each quarter you pay 10 million kwacha. Each quarter you pay 10 million kwacha. We can assume, let's say, can I go to the account statement? Or first we submit?
No, let's first submit. It's okay.
Okay, because the information is saved. When we come back, we just come straight to submission. There's no provision where you should put your provisional payments. Your provisional payments are seated on account. If you put the provisional payments here, your account will be negative because the 40 million will not adjust with what you have put here. So we go next. Have I made myself clear on that?
Okay, Tualumba is also asking. Tualumba, I think that is asking whether we put the withholding tax. Okay, we'll get back to that part, but Mr. Mwanza explained where you have to put the withholding tax.
Withholding, we can go to section C here.
Yeah.
Section C. Section B is the comprehensive income statement. Section C is a taxing schedule. Like I mentioned, you come to the totals here. You would have put your gross sales and expenses. You would have put your non-allowable expenses. These are the add backs. You would have put your allowable deductions. Then you would have, you come to totals here. You come to totals here. This is the part where you put withholding. Should you have certificates? It's even written here, less withholding tax for this source of income. This is where you put your withholding certificates. I had assumed that we had the 200,000 withholding certificates, 200,000 kwacha. So let's try to submit. We see how the return will behave. So I'm going to attach my form 56. I'm looking for a document. Okay, it should be in PDF. So I've added one, which is the ITF form 56. Then we have to add another one. We add two documents here. So let's try to submit. You've seen these errors here. It says the total income source code does not match with B, operation expenses, other income. We also have administrative expenses. So the system is trying to remind us, say, we haven't done a good job on section C and section B. So we go back to section B. So it says, you've seen what is here. Under section, we have this income here. And then we have cost of sales there. Then we have operating expenses. So what you need to do is, when you go to section C, we have these portions here. You remember, we had the other income, then we had operating expenses. So what you do is you go to section B. Section B, you look for operating expenses. This one, the form will come like this. You go to operating expenses, you pick this figure here, 6.2. Then you go to section C. Under operating expenses, you put, then you go back to section B for administrative expenses. Administrative expenses, let me shrink the form. Administrative expenses is here. So we have a figure for 2.5. You get this figure. You go to section C. You paste this figure. Then you go to section B. Section B, you have financing expenses. Financing expenses, 1.2 million. You get your 1.2 million. You go to section C. You paste your expenses. Then you remember we had the okay, let me try to submit. We see I've forgotten the other error. Let me try to submit. Let's submit. Okay, it says the total other income from source doesn't equal section B. Okay, so we go to previous, we need to go to section B. Section B, other income. You remember we put it has 4 million here. So you get this figure. This is rental income. Come here, you put your 4 million there. You put your 4 million there. But remember, this is the taxed separate. Like I mentioned, I'll show you something. This is the effect. Let's see, just a moment.
No. WFE, I called him, he didn't answer.
Don't see something.
Calling again now. Yeah.
So our tax is 43.
Yes, sir.
After bringing those expenses that we left out. So the other error is on the sources of income, which is not balancing.
Yes.
So we have the 4 million there.
No, we don't.
Remember, we said we should not combine.
We are just sending to Mohan
different sources of income. So that 4 million, we need to add it back because it's rental income, which is the tax separately.
Yeah. Yes.
So we can say rent 4 million. No, not here, not this part. Under deduction, allowable deductions. This why not here. Here. We can say rent because it will be taxed separately. separately. That's another schedule. So we have your 4 million there. So that we maintain our tax position of 43 million. Now let's go and submit. We submit.
Hello? Hello?
So the return has been submitted. So we can check the acknowledgement
I spoke to my Tehila. She told me to keep it.
is issued. It also,
No, she told
the
me
system
to
also
keep it.
sends to your email. System sends to your email. So we can check our account statements. For income tax.
Hello. Yeah, 1 minute. I'm sending you this Spectra oil so we can send together.
So this is what we have. So we were saying, you can see there are no provisional payments. So if this had the provisional payments, this would have reconciled. So let me just make payments. We assume they are provisional payments. And say income tax, and tax. I'm making a payment. Yeah, is it going to pay? I'm trying to make a payment. Okay. Says you can't do twice. So okay. Clear this. So say next. Proceed. Want to pay online. We select okay. There's no ZRI bank here, so we can't make a payment. We're supposed to have a bank here for ZRI, so we can't make a payment. So okay, so we have our liability here. If this account had some provisional payments, it would have reconciled to reduce our submission of 38 million kwacha to 0. So do we have any questions? We have managed to submit a return for income tax.
At this time, let us receive questions.
Any questions?
Okay, I've seen that most people are asking through the chat. Kindly shed more light on rental income tax and withholding tax. That is one question that is on the chat.
Okay, we can open the return. You go to returns, then you say view filed returns. So where's our return? Get the, where's our return? Could this be this one?
Ezekiel, it's at the top, the topmost.
I'm trying to open the return that we have just submitted. It has not saved that. So we still have a problem with view return. So what was the question?
Anyway, the question was just to shed more light, and I think it is in what you referred to on rental income, that it is taxed separately.
Separately.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Mr. I've forgotten the name of the person that asked, but what we should know is that it is taxed separately, and we had shown where we have to input it on other income, but then even if it is seated there, it has to again be accounted for on the rental income schedule. Unless you can come in with, if what we have said is, you can just open your mic and come in if what we have said is not sufficient. You are free to do that. Then there is another question which is saying, do you have the schedule, the return in Excel format?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me just share this screen. Where's my screen? Are you seeing this screen? Huh?
Yes, yes.
Okay, this is a return I opened, right? You come here. If you want to print the return, you come here. Here it says download the return in Excel format. Here is PDF. So if you open like this is a return. You can print. You're able to view and print. Right? So this is our return. You're able to view and print. This is the information that we loaded, isn't it? This is the tax that was paid. So for the Excel, you go to Excel. So this is the Excel return. This is how it comes. Have you seen my Excel return?
Sure, it's loading. It's not yet seen.
This is my Excel return. You've seen it? Or I need to share?
Yeah, you need to share it.
Question there, Mr. Mwanza.
Huh?
A
You've
question
seen it?
on the same Excel, yes.
Uh-huh.
Is there any possibility that one can be able to fill in the return in the Excel format there? You just upload it at once in the system.
No. For income tax, we don't. Income tax has no bulk upload, but these other tax types, yes, you can. Income tax has no bulk upload. There's no provision. So this is our Excel return to show you all the capital allowances, to show you what we did, even the tax position, it will show you.
Good morning, Mr. Mwanza. Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
There's a question that was asked by Mr. Robert concerning advanced income tax on the
Yes.
on the right hand. If you can see the notes where it says on customs hard copy, the amount paid is VAT inclusive. When putting AIT on income tax returns, do we put the total amount which includes MVF, CES, CDs, EDI, and VAT? There's a part where you had explained
No.
on income tax, on advanced income tax
Mm.
under customs
Mm.
payments. So he's wondering, do we
Yes.
put a sum amount there or do we specify the advanced income tax?
Okay, thank you for that question. You need to specify because the duties that you are paid under customs, you can't claim them. AIT is different from the other duties that you pay. AIT is different. AIT is claimable. You can claim it back once you make good of the compliance offense that you had committed with customs. The duties you can't claim. That's why I was saying in future, there will be validations. Say if you paid 10 million, 5 million is AIT, 5 million is duties and the other taxes. The system will not allow you to put more than 5 million. It will split. What is the tax that you paid and what is the AIT that you paid? The system will split. You can't claim your VAT that you paid for your goods, no. Through this this functionality, VAT is claimed using a VAT return if the goods were for business.
Do we have any more? Do we have any more questions? And perhaps just to amplify AIT, AIT is charged that the rationale behind AIT is that it is only charged if you are not compliant at that particular time, because the ASCUDA, the customs system is made in such a way that it detects at a point the assessment is being made, whether you are compliant or not. If you are not compliant, then it will automatically charge AIT. But if you are compliant and you are, let's say, for instance, you are on the income tax, it will not even charge that if you are compliant. But if you are not, it will automatically charge. And then at that particular time, you are supposed to pay it. Then when you become compliant, you can only claim that particular amount that you paid through the return, as Mr. Mwanza was now trying to show us. So like he said, it is recoverable. So you can only put the amount which is specific to AIT. And suffice to say, it is not everyone who will have that amount. Only those who are not compliant at that particular time. Any more questions? If we don't have questions, comments?
Just a question, Adrian.
Yes, Mr. Paul, please go ahead.
In the case your income tax payable amount is due, but let's say, for example, in the VAT account, you have some money that you are able to claim. Are you able to swap the
After lunch. Yeah, and I have a meeting.
Oh, kindly just repeat the question, Mr. Paul. I didn't get you very clearly. I think I had some feedback from Mr. Manza there. Mr. Manza, let's get that question.
Okay, let's say, for example, the previous return that Mr. Manza has submitted, it is showing us a tax liability of about 38, I don't know, 38 or 32, somewhere there.
Yes, yes.
Then at that particular time, you don't have the funds to pay that amount. But in your VAT account, there are some negative balances that we are showing, or the VAT refunds that you need to claim. Are you able to swap the two so that it can clear off that income tax liability amount? Is that possibility there?
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
okay. What he's trying to say is that there is a liability on income tax. You submit a return, and there is that liability which we have opened. But then he has a credit balance on VAT. So his question is, can we swap? Since we have a credit balance on VAT, can we simply get that particular credit and transfer it to income tax? That is the question he's trying to ask.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Because having a credit balance, why do you have a credit balance? If you submitted the claim returns for VAT and they are not audited, you cannot offset against the other liabilities. First, that return has to be turned into money. It has to be maybe assessed or paid as a clean refund. That refund, when it goes to Treasury, before they even pay you, they check, the system checks where else do you have liabilities before they even give you that money. Yes, you can swap, but you can only swap after you've been audited, not just the submissions of claim returns for VAT. If they are just sitting on account as the credit returns, they are not audited. That is not money, because the auditors can overturn your claim to a payment return. So you can't offset your credit balances on VAT before they are audited. Not until they are audited. You should have a valid refund due to you. That's when you can ask Zeda and say, okay, can I have this refund or be offset against other liabilities instead of you paying us? That is very possible. But before the returns are audited, you can't offset. That is not, it's not money for you, not until it is verified. I submit.
Any more questions or comments?
Hello?
Please go ahead, Madam Lori.
I submitted a question on the chat, and there's actually quite a few questions on the chat that have not yet been addressed. My question is not necessarily specific to income tax, but certainly with respect to our income tax liabilities, I know this issue does persist, which is that when we go as taxpayers into the pending liability screen, we're all of course seeing pending liabilities that have actually been paid. And I believe this issue is quite common across all taxpayers. I've talked to several representatives at the ZRA about this issue and have been simply told it's a system issue and it's being worked on. But of course, the frustration for us as taxpayers is that it's very hard for us to identify if there are actually pending liabilities and we're potentially not compliant and not even realizing it. So I'm wondering if everyone can mute and then if the appropriate person that's representing the ZRA.
Okay, so Madam Lori is asking, I'm sure the question refers to the liabilities that are showing on the dashboard, where you, when you log into your account, you are greeted with these liabilities on the dashboard. Yeah, so Mrs. Antonio, maybe you can pick that one up.
Thank you, Saluti. So Laurie, hi again. So the liabilities that sit on the dashboard is something that our project team is managing. I know we've heard this story before, but all hope is not lost. It's being cleared. If you have made your payments correctly and they're sitting on your account statement, and you go to your payment history, your receipts are there, which you can view through your payment history on payments made, then it's not something that should worry you. I know it's a concern for you, but then we are looking into having those issues cleared. And I hope before we go very far, something should be done about that. So, but before I close, I hope, Laurie, we've answered your question. There is a question in the chat box. Is that okay, Laurie?
Yeah.
This is Denise.
Hi, thank you. I was hoping for something a bit more specific, like a commitment as to a date by which these issues would be resolved. And then also, I certainly understand what you're saying with respect to the account statements. I have several examples where a payment has been made and it is still not showing in the account statement. And I've also been told this is just a system issue. So maybe you could just clarify what is the next step if that is the case, where a payment has been made, we have evidence of it being made, but it is still not showing in the account statement.
All right. Okay. Perhaps we can pick that one up. Please send me send us an email, Laurie. This is Denise, and then we can pick it up as regards your payments that are not sitting on account. But then, in terms of giving a commitment, a committed date on the dashboard, we'll have to engage our project team, Ezekiel, who is in the meeting, to see how far they can look into these issues. A committing date we cannot give as at now, but we should definitely get in touch with our esteemed clients. Is that okay, Laurie?
Thanks, Denise.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you an email. Thank you, Denise.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, before we come to Teddy, there's a question in the chat box from Trust LTP, and Trust LTP would like to have this answered. He's saying there's a problem with the provisional tax. Is it this one? No. He's saying something about capital allowances. Okay. He's saying they're trying to submit a return yesterday, but to their surprise, they found capital allowances already there, of which some are wrong, and unfortunately cannot change or correct what is. So, Trust, did you try to submit the return at first and then you want to get back to it? I bet, unfortunately, to go around this problem, you'll have to go to resume return filing. And under that point, you'll have to delete that return and start again in order to clear that part. Yeah. So we can go to Teddy and I hand over to Adrian.
Mr. Teddy, please go ahead with your question.
Yes, please. Hello?
Okay, we have some.
Hello? Hello?
Go ahead, Mr. Teddy.
Okay. My question is in regards to a provisional return. For instance, when you're making a provisional return, of course, I'm sure you are making a projection to say this is how my payments will be. Yeah, but in regard, you may not know what happens in the future. Are you going to be liable to make those payments if at all you declared some provisions? Yeah, so you can advise on that one, please.
Can I pick it? If I heard him correctly, saying at the beginning of the year, you submit a provisional return with some amount payable, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Then at the end of the charge year, you don't make business that will amount to what you had provided, right?
Yes, please. Yes, Mr. Mons.
Okay, so what we, a provisional return can be amended several times up to 31st December of that charge year. So if your projection in January are that you are going to make this 100 million, mid-year you realize that you cannot make, you had just see the provisional submission that you had made. So what the system will look at is the latest submission. So you can keep on amending up, down, until the year ends. You have up to 31st December to make amendment on your provisional return that you have submitted. You can even bring it to 0 in December before the year closes. The penalties only come in if you say by December you're going to submit, you're going to make 0 profit. And then when you submit income tax return in June, you say we made a profit of 10 million. The system will charge a penalty for under declaration. So you need to make adjustment as and when you realize that there's some shift of your projections in your business. Hope I've made myself very clear there.
Mr. Teddy, is it all right? Okay, we've seen a thumbs up. We have VC, and from VC, we can maybe take these two questions together. VC, and then we can go to IROQI Solutions. So please, Mr. VC or Miss VC, start, and then IROQI Solutions.
Oh, good morning once again. I have a question on provision tax. Let's say when you want to submit provision tax, then you go on selecting the business type. What type of business can you put when you are in petroleum products, let's say littering of fuel, in short, a filling station? Which one can you put?
The business type. Okay, we'll also take.
I didn't hear.
Okay, VC, repeat your question.
What was the question?
A question is that for provision tax, you want to submit a provision tax return. Then on selecting the business type, let's say if you are in petroleum products, filling station, which type of business can you put there? Under which category can you select?
Okay.
She's talking about tax income source codes.
Yes, income source code. Yes. Yeah, there are
There is a
sometimes.
provision.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
We'll check. We'll get back to that. Let's also get a question from solutions, IROQ, then we can answer them together. IROQI solutions.
Yes, yes, thank you so much. Yeah, mine is regarding issues of provisional annual returns. So what basically happened earlier this year, we did a project and did submit. But on the day of the submission, there were issues that came up, which I did follow up, but your office at Levy was not that helpful to get this really done. And last month, Chinsari office called to ask why we didn't do our provisional return and no payment was done. But when you get to the account, we did make a payment on the 30th of March. And that payment, the provisional payment, was for 3 quarters. So I was wondering why that is not reflecting on your end. But that payment was done and the receipt is issued and is sitting on the ZRA portal. The other issue also that I found when one tends to submit a provisional return, there is usually no calculations done. Let me just get the screen so that you help me on this one. I think I should have the screen here with me. So the screen mostly supposed to calculate for you and give you, for example, if I say, okay, this is my taxable income is 20,000, and then it has to calculate for you what you actually have to pay, but that wasn't coming out. And the officer who was helping me was not that helpful. He said, no, this one you have to take it up, but didn't really suggest where to take that one up. So I don't know what your take is on this particular, on these my questions I've just mentioned. Thank you.
We have got 2 questions. Hello? We've got these 2 questions. Maybe we can clear them. Mr. Mwanza, and then maybe
Are you seeing my screen here?
Maybe Mrs. Antonio will come in for the other one. The question from Mr. Ioroki.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, Mr. Mwanza.
For the lady who said there's a lady who said she could not see when submitting provisional return. They can't see the source code that matches their business, isn't it?
Yes.
So this is the screen. I'm trying to submit a provisional return. So you come here where it says choose. I don't know if you're able to see this drop down here. With the source codes, different source codes.
Yes, it's visible, Mr. Mwanza.
So which business is she talking about?
She's talking about petroleum and in a filling station. They run a filling station.
The filling station, they go to Wholesale and Trade. That's the one that they should pick. That's Wholesale and Trade. It's there.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Mwinga, we'll pick your question, but let's allow Mrs. Antonio. Can you come in for IROKI solutions question?
Thank you. IROKI, can you please come through with your questions again? I picked some, but I think I'll still need to hear your question again.
Okay,
Yes, yeah. So my question is basically on provisional returns. So we did the provisional return that was in January. So that particular provisional return had issues when we are submitting it. So one of the issues that came out was it wasn't calculating on the taxable income. It's supposed to say, okay, this is how much we tend to have in this particular year, and then you feed it in your system, and then at the end of it all, it has to give you to calculate and then give you what you really have to pay as your provisional return. And that wasn't coming out. So what we did was I was advised, okay, no, just make an approximation on your side and pay. So that's how we paid for 3 quarters. And then last month, I was called by your Chinsari office that we haven't made any payment for this year, which I disputed and said, no, actually we did make payments and we have the receipt. Yeah, so that is my first, that is my question. Then my other question is, the type of trade that we do in is not on your list. So we usually go for miscellaneous. So I don't know whether if that is why the taxable income does not calculate automatically or what, that I don't know. So that's what I needed to clarification on.
Okay, sorry, could I get your name, sir?
Benjamin.
Okay, Benjamin, what trade are you in?
So we sell laboratory reagents and equipment.
You are trading.
Yes, we are trading.
So you should be able to say, it's like Ezekiel had mentioned, you are trading. So there's a provision for retail and wholesale trading.
Okay.
Okay, that's for one. Then for your first question, did you try to amend the return? Have you tried to amend the return so far for starters?
So last week I went to Levy office to try and ask one of the officers to help me amend. Then we reached at a stage where it was again failing to amend. So she said, no, this one I cannot help you. So we have to escalate it further. So I don't know what she meant by further.
Oh.
Whether I get to your head office or yes.
Okay. After this meeting, I'd like you to remain behind. We'll remain with Saluti, and then we make arrangements and look at your solution towards your problem on a one-on-one. We've taken note. Then I hope that's okay with you.
Yeah, Mr. Benjamin, have you gotten that? But if you
yes, I've gotten that. I'll stay back and wait for us.
Okay. Alternative, send your. Please, let's mute our mics. Alternatively, Mr. Benjamin, kindly send your email address in the chat box. We'll engage you. We see your problem. Then when you are making payments, block payments, or you categorize them as in Q1, Q2, Q3.
Okay.
So perhaps that's another thing that we can look at towards providing a solution towards your problem.
We did categorize the Q1, 2021, Q2, 2021, Q3.
Okay, so we'll look at that and then we see the way forward towards providing a solution to your problem. Is that okay? Please send your email address on the chat box.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello? Hello. Hello.
Please go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr.
I wanted to find out, how do you offset the current year's profits against previous year's losses? Yeah, I think it's in Schedule 3 or Schedule 4, where you are coming with losses. Now you make a profit. Does the system automatically offset the two?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so the system will do that, Mr. Mwinga.
It does. It picks from, for example, since this is a new system, the losses that we are going to submit in 2019, not 2018, 17, going beyond, it won't. But for 2019, the losses that we are going to show the system that this is the loss that we made in the prior years, when you submit your 2020, those losses will auto-populate. Because we are going to indicate, like I was explaining, we are going to indicate if currently we've made losses, it will auto-populate. Then the second schedule is losses for past years. You indicate, you put them. When you go to the other schedule, it's going to offset with the current profits. But what it does, it would pick if your loss was 100 million, it will pick 100 million. Then you need to tell the system how much do you want to offset in this year. You can edit the figure.
Okay. So it doesn't automatically mean you can offset against the whole amount for your losses.
I didn't get that.
When it comes to offsetting, if I got you right, you are saying you pick the amount that you want to offset.
Yes. You say basically, if your loss is 100 million, then this year you have made profit of 80. It's only the 80 million and below that will be offset.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So from 2019, that will auto-populate.
No, it won't populate because there is no 2018 on the system. It's the same applies to capital allowances. The system only recognizes the 2019 going forward. 2019 is true, the taxpayer to give us the information that you had in 2018-17 in 2019. Then the system picks it up from there.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, we move to Lori.
Hi. Just picking up on that comment, actually, I just want to let the ZRA know that my experience has actually not been that. So when completing a 2020 income tax return in the new system for a company for which the 2019 income tax return was also completed in the new system, and that company had losses, those losses were certainly not auto-populated when completing the 2020 return in schedule, I believe it's in schedule 3. So I'm not sure if that's what you were trying to say would be the case, but that was certainly not my experience. So my question actually relates as well to these carry forward losses. So I think it's clear that there's been some confusion around the income source codes and the list of available codes in the new system is, I believe, a different list than what existed in the old system. And my concern is that I know that carry forward losses are by income source code. So if you want to carry forward a loss that was recorded under income source code 1, you must then carry forward it against income source code 1 profits in that tax year. You can't mix and match the carry forward losses between income codes is my understanding. So my concern is the fact that the list of available codes changed in the new system, so that if you have a company that had carry forward losses under a certain income source code in the old system, and that particular income source code is no longer available in the new system, when you complete Schedule 3 and you want to carry forward those losses, what income source code are you supposed to put, given that that previous income source code might no longer exist in the new system? I hope my question is clear.
Yes. Mr. Mwanza, would you want to come in? Okay, Laurie, from what Mr. Mwanza was actually explaining, I don't know the return. I think you said 20, the loss was coming from a year before 2019. This system will actually not show previous years because it's a new system. So it will only get information as that is from 2020. So if the loss is coming from,
of course, yep.
Yeah, if the loss is coming from years before that, unfortunately, it will not pick that information. So same if that information that you are trying to update, and the other the business code, like you are saying, the source of business is coming from the other year. If there's any change, what that means is that we will have to do that manually, because we have to compare the period before 2020 when we have a new system and the period before that. So that can easily be handled manually. So that shouldn't really be a problem. I don't know if we have answered your question.
Okay. She was saying they have losses, say for 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Did they include them in 2019? They included them in 2019.
Yes. So I'll just clarify my question. I'm saying, let's say we have a company that had losses in 2016, 17, and 18. Yeah. And when we're completing Schedule 3 in the new ZRA system, we want to be able to show that those losses are being carried forward. But the problem is that the income source code against which we had those losses is no longer available in the new system. So are we supposed to just pick a new income source code that we think is the most appropriate, even though it doesn't match the original income tax return for those losses?
Okay, so what we do is you give us those income source codes. If they are not cannot be matched to what is available, we can create and add it if it's a unique one. Make a submission. If it's a unique, yes. If it's a unique one, we can add it. If it's something that we can match with what is available, then we advise.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. I believe that the wholesale and retail trade income source code is actually a much better alternative to what was in the old ZRA system. But I'm just wondering if it's going to cause problems that the income source codes don't match. You know, that we're picking a wholesale and retail trade in the new ZRA system, but in your old system, those losses would have been reported against a different code.
The actual area and the cost of the area is under 60.
All right. But for now, like I've said, can we have those sources? Let's understand what you do.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something that you can match to what is available, the submissions we are going to make in 2019 is what the system will consider in the subsequent returns. Because the system won't speak to the past periods beyond the 2018. So the information you provide on 2019 return will be more viable than the ones that are not on this system.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just submit, give us those source codes, then we'll see if they can be matched, we can create and add them.
Mhm. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. I cut Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul, you wanted to say something before we wind up the meeting. I've seen that a number of people have already left.
It's on the sources of income. I just wanted to look at something like what the previous callers have said. Maybe they should be, I don't know how I can put it. Maybe PACRA should get hand in hand or should get in touch with you people there at ZRA to ensure that the classification of the industry for each organization is matching with what you have in your system. Because if you go to PACRA, there is actually a list that they give whereby you are able to choose what is your classification of the business that you do. And even then, they will not give you the exactly classification, but they'll say, no, for ZRA purposes or maybe for tax purposes, you can fall into this category. So maybe you need to marry the two so that we are able to understand in which category do we belong to, as we are able to understand the sources of our income for tax purposes.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Antonio or Mr. Mwanza, can you pick that one?
Ezekiel, you can pick that.
Seems Mr. Mwanza has left the meeting.
Okay, yeah. Paul, thank you for that question. Yes, mainly the source codes that are sitting on the system are from the same ISIC code that sits with PACRA. I think we have a link with PACRA, but all that you've said is right. We can pass it on to ask to say those missing source codes can be included, because what it is the way it sits at PACRA, it's quite general as compared to what one would specifically want to look at, like you have rightly said. So we can still do those engagements to have a correct ISIC code to suit the business that is engaging ZRA. I hope that answers.
Okay, we've been together for the last 2 hours, 14 minutes. So perhaps we can, for some of the queries we may not have answered adequately, using the same email that we invited on, you can send queries. We are certain we will respond to you. At this point, I would want to invite Mrs. Antonio just to, close our meeting. Mrs. Antonio, kindly just close our meeting.
Yes, I am aware. So thank you so much, colleagues. Thank you for being part of this meeting. I hope we have given some insights to your queries, and we will definitely share our contacts. Adrian, maybe you can start sharing our email addresses in the chat box for people to reach us for further clarity. We are there to help you, and we hope to continue doing business with you. We really appreciate the time and that you've taken off from your busy schedules to understand what we have presented to you. And we hope in the future the insights that we've given to you today will be of much benefit. So thank you so much.
So thank you very much. You can leave the meeting. Those who vote, please vote well, and we hope to see you in the next class where we are
Before you
going
close that,
to.
Jen,
Yes, Mr. Paul.
are you going to issue us with the attendance certificate?
Mrs. Antonio. Mrs. Antonio, did you pick that?
I have picked it. Well, this is it's a class that has gone to the general public. I cannot answer at the moment.
We can only say we'll consult and then maybe we'll get back. Yeah, because it has to. We have to also involve our HR department, the training, which are in charge of trainings and all that. So we can only.
We'll be
get
waiting,
back.
Adrian. I'm sure I need to. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so we are free to leave the meeting now. Mr. Mwanza has been very helpful. We are going to have another session on income tax next week. We'll specify partnership this time around. So thank you very much. You can leave the meeting. Did Mr. Benjamin remain?